Hello, I am Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev. I retired from Indian Foreign Service after 35-year long career in November 2013. I would like to talk about a career in Indian Foreign Service for young aspirants. What does it entail? What are the various perquisites? And how can this career be judged vis-a-vis other Government of India services comparable to it? There are many misconceptions about Indian Foreign Service. It's an outlier as the jobs in combined civil services go. It's unique in its own turf. It's also unique in its training, and it's the only service which is designed to serve outside and with foreigners. Therefore, it creates certain amount of mystique, glamorization or de-glamorization, and various phobias. I would like to correct them and give you an objective picture of how a career in Indian Foreign Service pans out and what kind of job satisfaction or lack of it can result. Firstly, among the big misconceptions is that Indian Foreign Service officers serve only outside India. That's not correct. On average, an Indian Foreign Service officer lands up spending about half of his term or her term outside India and nearly half in India at the Ministry of External Affairs, at other ministries dealing with foreign relations, and at various other deputations. Second misconception that I often heard in my career and afterwards is about the nature of life. According to some, we lead a very cushy life, but then some again would like to contend that the life is extremely risky and it is painful and less rewarding. Both these extremes need to be corrected, and the reality lies somewhere in the middle. The scope of work in foreign service has changed a lot, and the variety of the postings incomparable to what you have in India. An Indian police officer or Indian administrative service officer or income tax or customs officer is confined to India. The conditions from one posting to another may differ but are basically the same. You have same voltage of electricity, you ride on the same side of the road, and the cost of living is nearly the same all over India. This is very different in foreign service. You can be in one of the advanced capitals where life is fast, the conveniences are available. You may have some other challenges like housing in small flats, but you can also be in developing country where life is at a different pitch altogether. Similarly, the cost of living differs a lot, availability of goods differ a lot, and while minimal health and education standards are ensured, uh, there can be challenges on that score as well, calling for all sort of innovations and improvisation. Third, concept that needs to be handled with regard to career in foreign service is that it lacks contents and respectability. After all, there's no defined line of work. A police officer keeps law and order, an administrative officer runs administration, income tax, and customs have their work cut out. What does a foreign service officer do? In fact, that is where lies the real essence. Foreign service officer has to multitask a lot of things. Most of our embassies are fairly small. For about 1,000 officers, we have more than 150 diplomatic missions and posts, and these are in various places. So, an officer per se cannot afford to do only one thing. He may be handling cultural matters, he may be also running administration of the embassy, someone else may be in charge of the security of the embassy, he may have political work, economic work, and so on. So we need to multitask as foreign service officers, and that is quite challenging. You need to be master of all things. You need to learn very quickly and adopt different strategies for different situations. What works in New York may not work in center of Africa. What works in Eastern Europe may require very different handling in Southeast Asia. And that variety is spice of life in diplomatic career. The respectability is another misconception. Well, foreign service has no authority, unlike the domestic civil services, where an officer can have, as the perception goes, lot of respect from common man. But with this respect also come other things such as pressures, expectations, and interferences. You just have to be aware of the news in our media to find how various officers of the domestic service need to contend with such adversities. I hope that these facets of Indian Foreign Service would help you conjure up the service in an objective manner and decide whether you have an aptitude for it and whether you would like to opt for this service. Thank you.